Time for another Q1 off. Because some dumbass thinks that, I mean, you'll see it. I'll go over this shit. It don't make no fucking sense. Waiting on Twitch. There we go. So, we'll just use desktop view. It's easier. Pulling up what's happening. Twitch TV, Rizzo. He goes, he talks about some bullshit. Alright. First, we're just gonna go through the entire thing. Let me turn it up, sound warning, just so everybody can hear what the fuck's going on. And then I'll give my opinions on this shit.
Understood that, like, we were very close in the elevator, though, you know?
Elevator.
You know what I'm saying? I would love to get a message like this.
You can tell when it comes to the stuttering and all of that in his voice that he's not completely alright with it, but he's not trying to flame somebody. I would love to get a message like this. Yes, they know each other, but look. Text message. Bro, I'm not gonna lie, I was next to you in the elevator and you smelled so good. With these fucking emojis. What cologne do you use? He thought it's funny. That's so good, bro. 1 million. And then, you know, he posts the shit that he uses and all that. Like this one. I'ma buy it if it's the one. Yes, 1 million. Blah, blah, blah. So cheap here. And that's the cologne that he's using. This is the guy texting Rizzo. This is Rizzo's response. This is the guy replying back. And he's the one, you know. I mean, you know how this shit works. Nah, I said that backwards. But basically, I was right.
Wouldn't you? I don't know, just me? Two posters were out there.
And the rest of this don't matter. This is what the video's about. Is it saying he's cringe as something pops up on screen? And despite it being just a funny, you know, reaction timey thing like that, this guy's like, but straight up, if you get a message saying you smell good, it does make you feel good, no? Because you know that it's true, because they didn't have to say that. They went out of their way to tell you this, and now you know you smelled nice, make complimenting cologne normal. One, the fact that you have to justify this makes it odd by base. The fact that there's a comment about it and all of that, and it has to be justified in your definition, makes it wrong. But straight up, if you get a message saying you smell good, it does make you feel good, no? But even in context, it's kind of creepy as fuck. Because you know that it's true, because they didn't have to say that, and they shouldn't say that. Talking about some people smelling, one, be considered a sign of harassment, especially in other countries. America, they're not going to do much but call you a weirdo, but I mean in other countries, if you say some shit like that, they're going to get very offensive. And it's sexual harassment in some cases. Especially to go out of your way, like he says, to tell somebody that they smelled nice. So if you didn't hear, they were in a elevator, and that shit was sent to the yeah, they knew everybody and all of that, but it's also like, why wouldn't you say that something smells nice or something like that? You know, elevator and shit. Bring up a conversation and all that, you know. Oh man, it smells nice. I wonder what that is. Is that somebody's, you know, oh man, you smell nice, what you wearing, you know? Bringing up the conversation so it's not weird. Don't wait until everything's passed until the message is like, hey, I goes by you in your elevator and you were smelling nice. I'm sorry, even if I know that you're a goofy ass guy like Rizzo, I'm gonna be like, what the fuck? You know? Just because you have a personality and everybody expects you to be sending dumb shit like that doesn't make it right. Because if you take the person, both of the people, out of the context and you just look at the message and the situation that they're in, it's very creepy. So instead of it being those two who know each other, make it two random people who don't know each other. Make it two people who know each other. Make it two people who are, lovers and shit like that. And you come to realize that your opinion will change depending on who's involved, which it shouldn't. And that's the problem. People are saying, oh, well, it's Rizzo and one of his buddies and all of that, It's just all legit, it's all that, it's cool, it's just him sending him a compliment and all of that. The problem about it is, because he already said that they know each other, is if you know somebody and you actually know somebody and you smell that shit and you want to give them a compliment, you would say it to them because you're friends and you would think that it'd be acceptable. So the fact that he waited till later on and sent this man a text message and all of that makes me be like, what? That don't make sense. I'm not gonna go out of the way and tell a guy that I know that, he smelled nice on an elevator. I'm not gonna go out of my way and say that shit. I might say it to him, as we're in the elevator. But I ain't gonna wait and then send a message later on saying, like, hey man, you smell fresher than a motherfucker. What's the name of that shit? You know what I'm saying? I might bring it up next time, we meet or something, because we're probably gonna see each other again since an event. But to text somebody that shit's just kind of off the wall. Rizzo's known for being off the wall, not as much as Sis, but he's known for being off the wall and shit like that. So people naturally accept it. But the funny thing about it is, the comment that I sent was, spoken like true introverts. That is the most introverted shit I think I've ever seen, and that was my entire point. Spoken like a true introvert, instead of saying it to who's your friend, to his face when it's actually happening, you wait and then send him a message and all that shit and have a conversation with him. Spoken like true introverts. Why would you not tell them that while you're next to them? Don't make sense. Why are you sitting there? Messaging them afterwards is just weird, and it's very weird, depending on who they are. You were just right with them. Why would you message them afterwards? If you wanted information on the cologne and all of that, why not just talk to them and be like, hey, bruh, It's introverted as fuck for them to happen. And I said, why not tell them when you're standing next to them? Messaging them afterwards is just weird. Which it is. It's weird. People think weird is a bad word. Let's do a little bit of this. Let me find dictionary, because this is just, as he says, informal, North American. Induce a sense of disbelief or alienation in someone. That's not what weird means. That's an American type shit. Again, in Scottish, it's a person's destiny. Somewhere else, suggesting something unnatural or supernatural, uncanny. Weird does not mean supernatural or uncanny. Let's actually find a definition of the actual word weird, not some bullshit speculation. There you go. Of strange or extraordinary character, aka odd. It could be witchcraft or supernatural and all of that, but it's not relevant to what we're talking about. Because if you call something witchcraft or supernatural, all of that, you're also saying that it's still odd. So, of strange or extraordinary character, it being odd, that would be your actual definition for weird. 2, if you wanted to take it off of that end and say that it's supernatural and all of that, even though it's not relevant to what we're talking about. So as I stated before, it being weird, it is odd how you messaged somebody afterwards that they smelt good, even though you were standing right next to them. It's very odd behavior. It's very weird. And if you don't agree that that's weird, no matter how you come into the context of that, you know, it's very odd to do something like that. That isn't 100%. Then I said, you know, like, what the fuck? Was he just standing next to them, smelling them the whole way down in silence? And when trans by it, had to shoot a message to him? As I said, immediately afterward, it's rhetorical. This whole thing is rhetorical. It's not meant to be commented on. It's not meant to be answered or anything like that. Then I said, but seriously, if Rizzo wasn't so cool, and the other guy took it the wrong way, you know, oof. It would be a very big oof if he was like, hey man, you smell fresh on the motherfucker. I was right next to you. You smell nice and everything. Maybe he's super sensitive about his smell or some shit like that, you know, that's why the cologne's on. You know, people are sensitive about that shit, and even if you say they smell nice, they take offense to it. So I was saying, you know, if Rizzo wasn't, you know, so cool and everything, between the two, and they didn't know each other, oof. Then, this motherfucker, it might just be me, but I can't tell someone they smell good while trapped in a 3x3 enclosed space for 2 minutes. Because if they air you out, that's awkward as fuck. 1, an elevator ride for 2 minutes, something's fucked up. Motherfucker, you going like 1,000 floors into the fucking sky if you're in a fucking elevator for 2 minutes. Stop reading in the shit and making it too fucking serious. That's fucking stupid. 2, do you not know what the fuck rhetorical means? Second guy, it's not really weird either way. What do you mean? A motherfucker's messaging you telling you you smell nice and all of that. What do you mean it's not fucking weird another way? It's very odd behavior. Very odd. It could just be something you remember later. Yeah, but if it's something you remember later, you say, hey dog, what kind of cologne are you fucking wearing and shit? You know? Then if they elect to ask, you go into, you know, oh, I passed by you and some shit, and I caught a whiff of it and I thought it smelled nice. You give context, or we run the elevator and I smelled that shit and I was just wondering what that smell was. You know, it's stuck in my mind and I might want to pick some of that shit up. Then you give context on that shit. You don't just straight up say, man, I was in the elevator and you smelled fucking good. What kind of cologne are you fucking wearing? Just out of the blue. Like, what the fuck? That is weird. It could just be something you remember later. The fuck are you talking about? It could be something you remember later and all of that. We have the context to everything that happened. Or they're talking to somebody else and you forget to ask them in the moment. It's called being a bitch, for 1. And 2, even if they're talking to someone, it's not that hard to say, hey man, you know, as you're getting off the elevator, which is where conversations typically stop, just hop in there and say, hey man, what kind of fucking deodorant, that'd be even weirder. What kind of cologne you wearing, man? This shit smells good. Now, if they're in a meeting or some shit, you know, whatever. But we have the context for everything that's happening and all of that. There weren't any type of meeting. There wasn't any psionic shenanigans going on. It's just a very casual setting. It's called being an introvert. If you can't stop and ask somebody what kind of cologne they're wearing and all of that, and you have to send them a message, it is exactly what I said. Spoken like true introverts. Also, these are professional video game players. Do you think they're extroverts? Do you think they're extroverts? One, as I replied back, and you'll see later on, calling any type of professional gamer an extrovert is just a stereotype. It's like saying all gamers are fucking druggies, which my parole officer way back in the day tried to fucking tell me. She's like, you're on drugs because you play video games. And I'm like, I'm not on drugs because I play video games. It's the fucking, not parole, probation officer. And I'm like, it's a fucking traffic accident that I got probation on. Don't need to go into details, because that's personal, but yeah. And she was like, well, you play video games, so you're on drugs, so we need to drug test you all the time. And I'm like, no, that is stereotyping, and that's also discrimination. And I could technically sue you for this shit. And then afterwards, she elected to drop and not drug test me and all of that shit. Then I just had to stop in once a month for 6 months and say, hey, I'm still alive. Never got drug tested and never got anything. I just had to show up and say I'm alive, and then I left. It literally took me longer to drive to that shit than as long as I stayed there. I literally walked in the door, filled out a form, got called back, said, hey, I'm still alive. And then she'd say, okay, your next appointment is then. And then I would have to go back. And I'm like, this is fucking stupid. I gotta pay $85 fucking just to go to an office and say, hello, I'm still alive, and then turn around and fucking leave and shit. Like, what the fuck? So now you're stereotyping, or stereotyping. Could be a case of discrimination because you specifically called out professional video game players and all of that. At the very least, prejudice. Some sort of jealousy or something could come to it. But I decided to play along with them because I knew I was going to do this Q1 off and I wanted to see if I could get more content out of them. So, I replied back to Hopium, which is the guy that said he couldn't tell somebody they smelled nice in a 3x3 space. Apparently elevator rides nowadays take 2 minutes. Funny. And I said, if it's awkward to tell them that to their face, it should still be awkward to text that after you left, you know what I mean? And it's simple. If you're feeling awkward and feeling weird about saying something to somebody to their face, you should still be feeling awkward and weird to texting it to them. Because if you ain't gonna say it to their face, then you shouldn't text it to them either, because that means it's wrong. If I'm gonna call you a punk-ass bitch to your face, or I want to wait later and say you're a punk-ass bitch through text, both of them carry the same weight. The only difference is reactionary time. You know, whether it's in person where they can slap the shit out of you, or when it's over the phone where they could probably find you and slap the shit out of you, or they'll text back something rude and you both move on. It's called being a coward. There's no need to text something to somebody. It's different if, you know, you're going to get groceries or you're telling your friends something and then you forgot. Like if they were in a conversation and, you know, you were going to ask about it and you forgot. Because, you know, you never had a chance to. And you were like, oh man, you know, by the way, I forgot to tell you this shit, or I forgot to ask you this shit. You know? Human beings forget, you know, when you go grocery shopping, somebody forgets to tell you something or goes and checks, and then they're like, hey, did you pick up some salt on the way back? You know, type shit. There are some cases where it's fine and it's not weird because you were talking about it previously, or talking to that person previously. But I mean, to not say something to that particular person who is a good friend of yours then to text them later saying that they smelled nice and shit like that, how does that not be like instantaneously like, what the fuck? I mean, the person, you know, is gonna kind of, you know, laugh and all that other shit and kind of joke it off because it is very weird. But I mean, it's also like you're not near them. You don't know how they feel about the situation or anything like that. He could just be nice because you're buddies and all of that and kind of sort of know each other. He could be thinking right now, sitting in front of his phone, like, what the fuck? This motherfucker just said that he's smelling me and shit and he's enjoying it? Like, what the fuck? Type shit. You don't. That is why it's important to ask people important questions and shit and face to face. Because if somebody says something and you can't get the context of their reaction on that shit, and you end up doing the same damn shit, you end up creating a rift between you two. Now this shit really don't matter, which is why I said it's rhetorical, which all of these motherfuckers don't know what the definition of rhetorical is, but whatever. But as I replied back to Hopium, if it's awkward to tell it to them face, it should still be awkward to text them about that shit after you've left. You know what I mean? You didn't say anything to them while you were there. Why would you say something to them now? Negligible. Then, I went to Arnett. He's being a dumbass. And I was like, so you're proving me right. Because he's the content right there. So I said, so you're proving me right. I don't see a point in the comment, but thanks. Again, I don't see a point because it's rhetorical. And I said, professional video gaming doesn't make you an introvert. That's a stereotype. And we know the circumstances of what happened, so I don't know why you're pulling these reasons out of. He wasn't in a conversation with anybody. He wasn't doing any of that shit. And if you actually did your research, you would know what the rest of that is. This right here is just a clip from an actual fucking stream. Again, as I said, down here, we know the circumstances of what happened, so I don't know where you're pulling all of these reasons out of. Because this is a short to an actual fucking stream that happened. You can look up the source. You can get the sauce very easily. So I said, I don't know where you're pulling these reasons out of. Anyway, I said my piece. I'm not turning this into a comment bet. Because I was planning on doing a Q1 off. He says, bro, pulling these reasons because all he told us was that he was in the elevator. There's still many possibilities. No, if you looked at the sauce and actually looked at the fucking stream, you would know everything that surrounds this particular thing. You fucking dumbass. Plus, you don't even realize what rhetorical is or means. You're just reaching hard as fuck when it's just not an awkward interaction either way because they know each other. So you're saying that you can't have awkward interactions with somebody just because you know each other. Please tell me what kind of fucking logic that is. That's it's cool we're homies moment. For those of you that know, no. Story that comes from that is one of my friends was another kid in his room, and a friend comes over, drops his pants, and starts working with himself. Him and his other friend are doing things, and they're like, what the fuck? And he says, it's cool, we're homies, and then he flips over the couch. So as he's pounding his lady, his friend's over there watching them and doing all kinds of other things. And you can think it's cool, we're homies, and he flips over the couch. Pants around his ankles and shit. He was stoned, so, you know, but still. But it's cool. They're homies. It's not awkward. It's not weird. It's not any of that because they know each other. One, and nobody said anything about an awkward interaction. I said that it's weird. And no matter how you try to spin this shit, it's weird. I'm the one reaching hard as fuck, but you're the one giving me excuses and reasons. and all of that other shit. You're the dumbass. You're being a hypocrite in an argument, which is why most people lose arguments, because they end up being hypocrites and contradicting their own statements. Anybody that's smart enough to just click on the source can see what the fuck's going on and can easily find out about the fucking stream and all of that shit. It's not that hard. That you got mediocre, dumb motherfuckers like this that want to turn shit into an argument. There's still many possibilities. No, there's not. We know the exact circumstances of what happened. He said, you're just reaching hard as fuck. And you're the one that's giving all of these reaching. Let's go back up. It could be something you remember later. Maybe they're talking to somebody else and you forget to ask them in the moment. Then you're reaching and saying things about professional video gamers and thinking that they're extroverts and shit like that. But I'm the one that's reaching, even though I literally point blank told you that we knew the circumstances of what happened. And then I questioned you on what the fuck you're talking about, because you obviously didn't do any further research or anything like that. It's like, bruh, who's the dumbass here? 1. Look up the definition of rhetorical, brother. Actually, I want to send one more comment to him. 1. Look up the definition of rhetorical. How did I fuck that up? And for those of you that don't know, it's something that's not supposed to be taken literally. Relating to or concern with the art of the rhetoric. Really? Really? You can't use the word in the definition, brother. Asked in order to produce an effect or to make a statement rather than to elicit information. That's close. But let's go back into the actual thing to get a better definition. Especially, asked merely for effect with no answer expected. That is exactly what rhetorical means. If I look at you and I'm like, let's say you accidentally drop and break a glass, and I look at you and I'm like, what are you, fucking stupid? That's a rhetorical question. You already know the answer. I already know the answer. It's just a mistake. I'm saying something rhetorical. It's literally said for an effect, but it's not with any expected answer. You're not supposed to say, yes, I'm stupid, or no, I'm stupid. It's rhetorical. So 1, look up the definition of rhetorical. 2, learn what a short is. And 3, the most important part of all of this. Stop messaging me or you'll be blocked. Because you obviously have no idea of what's going on around you. I'll fix that later. Actually, I can fix it now. There we go. And trying to talk to you is like talking to a 15-year-old in the peak 20s. 15 years old 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 in the Well, that's not true. It wouldn't be the peak of their puberty in 15, but you know what I mean. In the peak of their rebellious phase. Makes me shake my head and just dismiss you. So, good day, sir, and goodbye. It's just that simple. Look up the definition of rhetorical. It's a statement that's not supposed to be supplied with an answer. What I said at the end, which I said it's rhetorical, it's just supposed to be a funny statement, calling them introverts for not saying the shit in public. I don't give a shit. If a male tells another male that they fucking smell nice or anything, that's not even the context of the goddamn video. It's the fact that somebody took that shit seriously, even after I said that it was all rhetorical and all that. Maybe I should have said the word, it's a satire. It's satirical, instead of using the word rhetorical. I said it's rhetorical because I didn't want these fucking dumbasses replying back with me with some dumbass shit, which is what they're doing right now. Now, I know his dumbass is going to send me some shit back, so we're just going to go ahead and hit him with the 1, 2, 3. So I don't get bothered by his dumbass anymore. But it's like, god damn, man. How fucking stupid can you be? I mean, I did it for the Q1 off. Is why I kept replying back to the guy, because, I mean, that's just free-ass content. But it's also like, the world has become weird. Basically what the title of this shit is. Why are we so far from everything that you can't even ask a buddy what kind of cologne you're wearing? How do you become that extroverted where you can't make simple comments to, you know, simple people that you know? It's different if, you know, it's a guy, just random ass average Joe sitting on this shit. Like, this is somebody who you're familiar with. You got familiarity with them. Things like that. You guys can hold a text message along and joke about this shit and all of that other shit, and, you know, have that conversation and all of that. And he knows who you are, and he knows you're kind of, you know, kind of out there a little bit, you know. That's part of your personality and all that. That's part of you. So, you know, he expects shit like that. But how is it that hard just to say something? There are proper ways to interrupt people's conversations. If you have something to say and you're not going to take very long of a time, you're not going to interrupt their conversation for, you know, a long point. There are ways to interrupt somebody having a conversation or doing something like that. Again, if it's a meeting, it's different because, you know, meetings, they're actually trying to get something done. Conversations is recreation. So I don't understand how hard it is to just, you know, even if they're talking about, you know, some bullshit like what they're having for dinner or all of that shit. And you don't even have to address them directly and all. You could just be in the elevator with, you know, let's say there's 8 people on the elevator and all that shit. You can literally, since, you know, you're standing near people that you know, be like, man, something smells good. Rizzo, is that you? Or Rizzo says, hey, because I don't remember the other guy's name. So I'm just going to say it's Rizzo. I don't remember the other dude's name. But it's like, you know, hey, Rizzo. Or something smells good. Hey, Rizzo, is that you? Is that cologne? What kind of cologne you wearing, man? And they say, you know, I'm wearing that. Like, thanks, man. And then you can cut the conversation off like that, and then get back to, you know, doing whatever. If you offended them, they generally say, well, that was fucking odd or that's fucking weird or something like that. And if you didn't offend them, they'll typically go back to doing what they're doing, or if their first conversations were, they'll keep up the conversation with you, and then all you can just converse with each other. Despite me not liking people, I still have conversation skills. It's not that hard to develop. When it comes down to it, I mean, you guys have seen the streams. I can talk for 4 or 5 fucking hours over some dumb bullshit and just keep fucking talking about bullshit like some fucking senile thing. So I just don't understand. I mean, I do understand. Again, it's rhetorical, but it's like, I don't understand how somebody can know and be familiar with somebody and not ask a simple question, wait, and then text them saying, man, you smell gooder than a motherfucker. What's that stick? Oh, it's this shit? Damn, man. Yes. Alright, man, I'm gonna pick some of that shit up and we can be smelling the same. We're walking to bars and shit, and I was like, damn, they're using the same cologne type shit. I mean, like, it's like, bruh. But like I said, the guy that wanted to make an argument and all of that completely tried to change the things that I was talking about and what I was saying, and tried to twist that shit. As he said, he was hard reaching for things, or I was hard reaching for things, but he said that he was in fact the one hard reaching for shit. He changed exactly what I said, ignored the fact that I said it was rhetorical, didn't look at the sauce, started running his mouth about shit that didn't even pertain to anything, started trying to, give all of these kinds of excuses and shit like that to try and back himself up and all of that. And it's like, wow, you are 110% wrong. If I was sitting in front of this man, I would be like, you are so fucking lost in the goddamn sauce that you don't even know what the fuck you are. You're over in fucking Kansas and shit, while the rest of us are way fucking west. We're in like Las Vegas and you're chilling in Kansas. It's like you so far off. And that's the kind of shit that mediocre people do. You can say one thing and they will immediately take that shit and string that shit all over the fucking place and make all of these notions about things that you said when you said everything as you meant it. And it's like, damn. It just baffles me how people can be so fucking delusional about something that's like legitimately right in front of them. Don't read some shit one time and then comment on it. Read that shit a couple of times. Let that shit soak into your fucking brain. Use them critical thinking skills. What does this person mean? Are they being malicious about it? Are they being non-malicious about it? Are they being rhetorical or satirical about it? How were they trying to convey this particular information? That shit is still, and it's sitting there in basically form setting in the comment section. You have all the time in the world to respond back. Why look at that shit, then immediately go, boop, 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 send? That's gonna make you look intelligent, or not intelligent at all. You're gonna look dumb as fuck. And anybody who you ask a question to that immediately gives you an instant response means that your question wasn't good enough for them to actually truly think about, especially if it comes from a statement. Now, if you ask somebody what's 2 plus 2 and they reply back 4, I mean, it's something that they legitimately know, and they don't really have to think about it. But when it comes to a discussion or a debate, if you fire something at somebody and they immediately come back with, some bullshit off the top of the head, like when I'm streaming, somebody will say something and I'll immediately say something back. Obviously, I'm focusing on other things. I'm not giving the comments and all of that much thought. I'm giving it enough processing power to turn it into a discussion and, keep the conversation moving along, which is what most streamers do. But unless it's something that requires, heavy thinking power, I'm not going to pause the game or go back into training or some shit, to do something like that. And that's where you got to kind of draw the line to see, whether somebody's worth their time. If you come with something serious and you say something to somebody and they immediately give you a response back, they're not worth fucking talking to. It's not. Hey man, my girlfriend broke up with me, I'm feeling sad and depressed and all this other shit. I just want to talk and, have a good time. They immediately reply back, oh man, shit's gonna be fine, you'll get over her. The generic response. Shit's gonna be fine, you'll get over here, there's plenty of fish in the sea. And that's the type of message you get back immediately, just a generic response and all that. And so, hey man, how you holding up, Do you need to fucking talk about the shit? Even though he said, like, do you really need to talk about the shit? Like, do I need to set some time aside, Something like that, So making sure you're alright and not gonna do something stupid, like, something that's gonna change your life or anything like that, They're actually, conversing with you to try to get down to what's wrong and actually trying to, care for you. Versus getting a generic response. Oh man, it's alright. She's a bitch anyway. Didn't really like her. There's plenty of fish in the sea. Generic responses and shit like that. That means they haven't thought a second thought about you. They don't give a fuck about you. Or anything like that. They're just trying to give you a little bit of advice so you'll go the fuck away. Type shit. They don't care. You're wasting your time. You're barking up the wrong tree. They're trying to be, cordial towards you and all of that. Because, you're their friend or you're somebody that they know, but they necessarily don't want to deal with your bullshit right now. You gotta kind of point that shit out and pick that shit out and I shouldn't follow this person anymore. They really don't want, anything to do with it right now. Maybe they're going through a bad time or some shit, And you can tell how people would necessarily think about you, whether they adore you, whether they don't give a shit about you, whether you're just there to fill in a gap or anything like that, by how you converse with them. It's very simple. It's kind of one of the reasons why I haven't found, a girlfriend or anything like that I necessarily, are into or like. Because all it is just a bunch of generic ass conversations. Yes, you don't know each other or anything like that, but when there's potential of dating and all of that, if they look at your profile picture or, are interested in you based off of whatever reason, profile picture, bios, anything like that, if they're legitimately interested in you, you're going to get non-generic responses. They don't give a shit about you. You're not going to get much pushback. It's just going to be a kind of, let the water flow through. Once the water runs out, it'll dry up and everything's fine. The ones that actually care about you will go into depth and they'll, show you how much that they care about you. You'll get a lot more eye contact, a lot more body language, a lot more interest, like general interest in the shit that you're into, etc., etc. That's also how you know when you're becoming complacent in your relationship and you need to spice things up a little bit. You find yourself just existing with each other. You've gone from, being a relationship and being a very happy, family with a flame to just a regular ass family like most of you grew up with. Some of you grew up with, I can't say most. Some of you grew up with, just your basic ass family. Then that's different. You're no longer in love with each other, you're just a family. Their presence is around, and you accept them and you treat them like family. a significant other or a lover or anything like that. So you've essentially regressed from being, lovers and all of that, starting one big happy family, getting your shit together, keeping the flame lit, everything going hunky-dory to two people existing as part of a small family. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that you gotta kind of realize that your love life is starting to decline. Especially as you get older, that shit's gonna decline. Because what happens is you start becoming more and more like family, and once you pass that threshold, they no longer become your significant other, they become more like your brother or your sister. And you know the fights and shit that happen between your brother and sister. That's where you get the jokes from the old guys talking about their wives and how you can have them and shit like that. Yes, it's funny, but it's also a sign of relationship regression. He said sickness and health till death do part. Whatever the fuck else your religion and or whoever the fuck gave you the fucking, the marriages and all of that shit. How did you say? Yes. It's supposed to be two people like type of experience. However, a lot of people are gonna like to hear this. Weddings is more about possession than anything. It's been like that since ancient times. Marriage is more about possession. A lot of people like to code it in, this sacred type of thing, I want to be with this person forever, I want to take our love to the next level, all of that other shit. You can do all of that without getting married. When it comes down to it, you want to claim that particular person as yours, and there, essentially become a possession. If anybody tries to take your possession, you get upset because that's what you do. They're in your possession now. I'm not gonna let somebody take my shit. It doesn't matter if I like the shit or don't like the shit. It's mine. You can't have it type of shit. And that's where most marriages end up nowadays, and why you get the higher divorce rates and shit like that. Because people aren't ready to become somebody else's possession. That motherfucker, they say, oh, well, you're too clingy. You're way too involved. You're always trying to tell me what to do. You're always trying to take control of my life and all of that. I don't like that shit. We're breaking up. Then why did you get engaged? Being engaged, to get married and all of that, you're essentially giving yourself to each other. You're becoming each other's possessions. Somebody comes in and tries to take something that you like, whether it's your food or your TV or Xbox or spouse or whatever it is, you're going to get pissed off. But that's not being pissed off because they're taking your lover. It's a pissed off feeling that they're taking your possession. That's when you're no longer in that deep-seated, love and all of that, and you're just kind of like a family member that you should respect, a family member that you should, and that your love is waning. Then you go on to the expectations of society and the people around you. If somebody comes in and starts fucking with your wife, society expects the man, woman, whatever, the other significant other, to come in and try to put a stop to that shit. Even though in some cases you shouldn't, they can take care of themselves, but society expects it. And if you don't step in and say some shit, people around you are like, oh man, I guess pussy ass bitch. This fucking useless motherfucker, does he even care about her? Or does she even care about him? This other motherfucker's making a move on him and he's fucking just sitting there not doing shit. What the fuck? So then societal expectations and shit come in. That's another problem. thing is, if your significant other actually likes you, it doesn't matter if their ex-boyfriend, fucking parents, a guy that likes them, girl that likes them, anybody that likes them, or anything like that gets involved. You shouldn't have to do anything. You should be able to sit there feeling confident as fuck that they love you no matter what, and you ain't gotta worry about that shit. So you shouldn't even have to intervene. Somebody should come up to him and say, "Hey, baby, what's going on?" And they should turn around and say, "Nothing for you, motherfucker. I'm married." Or "I'm in a relationship," and they should walk the fuck away. Simple as that. You shouldn't have to be sitting there thinking, "Man, this motherfucker's flirting with my wife and all of this. Like, we're gonna have to fight. Shit's gonna go fucking south and all that." Like, you shouldn't even have to worry about it. You really shouldn't. And if you do worry about that shit, and you have whatever reason to keep a specific person away from your significant other, well, that means, one, that you don't trust them, or two, they're not giving you the feeling of trust. That you're solid with them. You have nothing to worry about. Which means you guys aren't in a healthy relationship. Things ain't gonna go well. You're either in a bad spot mentally, or they're in a bad spot mentally, or you're both in a bad spot mentally. You can go to counselors and shit like that to try and help yourself. Or you can live the rest of your life in fucking misery. Always looking over your significant other's, shoulder, seeing what they're doing, checking their phone, acting like they're fucking untrustworthy and shit until they get sick and tired of you. Always being in their shit, and then they eventually say, "Fuck it. You think I'm gonna fucking cheat all the fucking time? I'm gonna fucking do it. You wanna keep me away from, my exes and all of that, even though, we're on good terms and all of that, or we're co-workers or some shit? Something exponential that isn't really important, fuck it, I'm gonna hang out with them. Understood. They probably treat them better than you do in some cases. They just broke up mutually because they didn't feel the love anymore. And that's the kind of the killer to most relationships. You'll have a breakup between two people that were together for a long time. They'll become exes, and they felt they were just friends. The relationship didn't work out. The feelings went out. They didn't vibe anymore. They still want to remain friends because that person has been their friend for a long time. But then they get with another person, they're like, "No, you can't talk to that person anymore." And they're like, "Why?" Love's done and over between us. It's done. You ain't gonna worry about shit. If I still love them, we'd still be in a fucking relationship. Dumbass. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, dating you, living in your fucking house and shit like that if I still had feelings for them. Ain't that fucking obvious? Now, you keep saying to stay away from them and all that. You keep pissing your spouse off. You might give them the spark in their relationship back, because they might go out and fuck around with their ex and all of that just because you gave them the spark for that. You're always making them feel a specific way. The suspension bridge effect is something called, even though it's literally it's attribution of arousal, is the actual scientific psychological name of it. I've talked about it a couple of times. If you take somebody and you get their heart rate up and do shit like that, like walking across the suspension bridge is what they call it. That you make them walk across the suspension bridge that bobbles and shit. You get their heart rate up. You make them sweat. You make them panic a little bit and things like that. The human body will oftentimes misinterpret that as love, because the same thing you're feeling in that fearful moment is the same thing you generally feel when you're in love with someone. You feel the same thing. Fear and love goes hand in hand. Same experiences, same feelings, same moment. Now, if I take a beautiful ass person and sit them in front of you, and while you're experiencing that, your body can be confused to interpret that for love. Simple as that. You're not gonna have a choice with that shit. I can completely fool your body into thinking that whoever the fuck's in front of you, if they're worthwhile, I can make you think that you love them. I can just keep repeating that experiment, raising your heart rate, putting you in that feeling, and then sitting that person near you, and you would naturally become attracted to that person. Same is kind of the same with Stockholm Syndrome, but this Stockholm Syndrome is a little bit different. The suspension bridge effect, which we'll call it that because that's what most people know about, gets applied in Stockholm Syndrome. In most extreme cases, to force somebody to basically care for you. The only difference is the suspension bridge effect is a phenomenon that happens. It can happen at any time, Going to an amusement park, that's why going to the amusement park is a good date. Because when you're together and your heartbeats are going out of control and all that, that's why the amusement park gives you such good, such good of a date. The entire time you're with that person, your heart rate's up and things like that because you're going on roller coasters and shit. Then at the end of the day, of being with them at this increased heart rate and, feeling all of those feelings and shit, you go on the Ferris wheel or some shit. Then, instead of it being a fearful feeling and all of that, that actually comes from the adrenaline of riding a roller coaster, it becomes you're in love with that other person and all of that. And then, that feeling comes. And you say, oh, this is love. I love this person. And you get together. Stockholm Syndrome is just inserting yourself into somebody else's life forcefully. They might not love you, and Stockholm Syndrome isn't about love, it's more about acceptance. If I walk over to you with my hair fucked up, my clothes fucked up, nasty, greasy, fucking dirty, and some shit like that, say I'm a coworker, for example, at a job, and I'm just, nasty, don't care about my job, everything like that, don't come well received. If I get assigned to your work area and we spend every day together, you're going to naturally come to accept my presence. You might not accept it 100%, but you are going to start naturally accepting my presence. It's the adaptability of human nature. And the more you come to accept my presence, the more the Stockholm Syndrome has come into effect. Now, if I mix that with the suspension bridge effect, I can make you come to even like me, not just accepting me, I can make you come to like me. You might not love me, but you'll still have a positive opinion. And it really is just that simple. So if you ever want to plan a date with somebody and get the blood pumping and all of that, do something that's like, adrenaline junkie. Go bungee jumping or something like that, or something that'll keep, the heart rate up. Give that kind of fearful, aspect and all of that. To make you nervous and make you shaky and all of that. Like when you're near somebody that you actually like. Make a date that incorporates those feelings and then spend time with your significant other. And you will see an improvement in your relationship. Now don't use the fuck out of that shit and make it like that every time, or it's not going to work. The whole point is to, whenever you get to that particular state, occasionally, is to experience those feelings and emotions. I mean, that's just one out of many of the different things that you can do to improve your relationship. So that's how relationships fall in the gutter. You fall into this routine, familial, or family, not familial, family routine, to where, one person, you have kids or some shit, one person works during the day, one person works during the night, or when somebody else is working, the other person goes and does their own thing. You rarely have time to spend with each other, and when you do spend time with each other in your free time, you're fucking or you're doing something like that because, well, you have natural instincts and, they're the person that's there to relieve that shit. So that's just playing the role, and that's just playing the script. You're not doing anything that incorporates love. You're just taking care of your basic needs and all of that. But also keeping, the family routine going. But I mean, I'm not here to relationship counsel or anything like that. I just wanted to get it up around about an hour to make this whole thing worthwhile. But, as we always say, supplement your lifestyle, and that is the end of the Q&A. As well, I didn't really feel like getting that one thing wrong to lead in, because it's just straight sadness. Anyway, what we've learned today is most people don't fucking think before they say something, so if somebody says something fucking stupid to you immediately after something happening, just kind of try to disregard it, even though you know that they're the fucking dumbest motherfucker in the world. Just try and disregard it. Let him have that one. Play the more intelligent person. And just kind of, let shit go. Because if you don't, you have dumbasses like that fucking dude from that comment section who just doesn't fucking know what the fuck he's talking about or where he is in life. Then, when he figured out he never figured it out. Then he dug his hole even deeper, reaching for shit. When everybody and their mom knows what the circumstances are. But anyway, that's it. That's all I gotta say. Bye bye. Peace.